In the stillness of suburban evenings, laughter veils the shadows lurking beneath the surface. An innocent hug spirals into a maelstrom of betrayal as whispered confessions intertwine with deceit. With every passing glance, the weight of unspoken truths grows heavier. How much longer can I hide from the choices that haunt me? The summer sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over our suburban neighborhood in Maplewood, the neatly trimmed lawns and flawless picket fences standing as testaments to contentment and stability. The gentle rustle of leaves danced in the warm breeze, interspersed with laughter echoing from behind closed doors. My house, though modest, felt like a stark juxtaposition to the illusions of success that threaded through these idyllic streets. It was here that my life was unraveling, hidden beneath the surface of everyday normalcy, where shadows of doubt and regret lurked just beyond the glow of that fading sun. Inside my living room, the air buzzed with chatter as laughter erupted over a game of charades that Lisa, my wife, had hastily organized to distract us. Our guests, Alex and Sarah, threw themselves into the moment, their laughter bright and unrestrained. While Lisa's contagious giggles filled the space with warmth, I couldn't help but feel a painful disconnection seeping into the edges of our gathering, mirroring the growing distance between us. I was Jake, 45, tethered to my own stagnation, a man trapped in a life that had once brimmed with ambition. Those dreams, however, had frayed and faded with time. Alex, my youthful roommate at just 25, represented everything I feared I'd lost: exuberance, ambition, a carefree vitality that set the world ablaze. His charm and relentless drive served as a constant reminder of my own shortcomings, and in the evenings, when I'd sit on our lumpy couch watching him come alive with every word and gesture, a mixture of admiration and resentment washed over me. Each smile shared with him tugged at my heart with the echo of my past self, the indefatigable young man who dared to dream. Sarah, with her soothing voice and the gentle way she intertwined humor and insight, embodied the warmth I craved but struggled to articulate. She was a close friend of both Lisa and me, offering support like a balm for the wounds left unmentioned in our marriage. Yet today, as I watched her banter playfully with Alex, I felt a flicker of something deeper, something that should have been innocent but felt heavy in my chest. The evening unfolded, glasses clinking and casual flirtation wrapping around the air like a sweet scent, intoxicating yet deceptive. I shared a brief hug with Sarah, our bodies brushing together with our laughter tumbling into whispered words, a moment devoid of malice but filled with something I couldn't quite define. Little did I know, Alex's ears were finely tuned to what I believed was a harmless exchange. Curiosity piqued as he stood near the kitchen. Inertia bolted to his core as he loaded the dishwasher, obliviously absorbing the weight of every fleeting glance and tone. The words, "You always know how to lighten the mood, don't you?" slipped from Sarah's lips, just as Alex caught a breath, a hint of betrayal simmering beneath my innocent facade. I could almost see the curtain of perception dropping, his youthful spirit ready to confront the discord swirling around us. Little did he know, feelings of resentment didn't stem solely from what had played out between Sarah and me. It was the sibling rivalry of ideals, the dying echoes of my youth clashing with the vivid ambition of his present. Moments later, as laughter shifted into silence, the room hummed with a tension I could palpably feel, the air thick with unspoken words. When the evening finally drew to a close, the last remnants of laughter trailing off like the sun slipping behind the horizon, I sought solace in the kitchen, rhythmically washing the dishes, as if scrubbing away the unease that had settled in my heart. But I couldn't scrub away the ominous shadows threatening to collapse my constructed reality. Alex, stepping into the kitchen, leaned against the counter, a crooked grin on his face that concealed shadows of his own. Did I misread that? Or was that flirty hug between you and Sarah as innocent as you make it sound? His voice, light yet laden with challenge, pierced the fog in my mind. I turned to face him, swallowing the bitterness rising in my throat, fighting against the urge to laugh it off. It was harmless, I defended, my heart racing in that stark silence. Just two friends sharing a moment. Harmless? He raised an eyebrow, unconvinced. Sounds like you aren't telling the whole story, Jake. Maybe it's time you take a look in the mirror. The confrontation crackled with emotion, a quick descent into truths I had avoided even acknowledging myself. And deep in my chest, beneath layers of shame and resentment, a voice urged me to make a choice. To confront the fissures, not just in my charged interactions, but in the very fabric of my life and marriage to Lisa. The boundaries of friendship, of loyalty, now wavered before me, hanging precariously in the balance of the summer air, ripe with the possibility of change. The sun dipped low, casting a warm glow over the suburban neighborhood, turning the neatly trimmed lawns and picket fences into a tapestry of gold and soft shadows. It was the kind of evening that promised laughter, connection, and warmth. Yet the gentle hum of cicadas felt oddly discordant with the storm brewing inside me. The air was thick with the scent of freshly cut grass, mingling with the faint aroma of the barbecue sizzling on the grill. I stood in the kitchen, watching as Sarah and Lisa chatted animatedly at the patio table, their laughter spilling into the spaces between my mounting discontent. "Hey, Jake, can you bring out the wine?" Lisa called, her voice a melodic blend of excitement and hospitality. I nodded, forcing a smile as I reached for the familiar bottle of Chardonnay, my thoughts tangled in the disconnection simmering beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect gathering. I set the bottle down on the table, surrounded by a colorful display of snacks and vibrant summer blooms. Sarah turned as I approached, her golden curls catching the fading sunlight. She greeted me with an infectious smile that briefly lifted the weight resting on my chest. But even as I welcomed her presence, ghostly reminders of what I had lost crept into my mind. A certain intimacy that I hadn't felt with Lisa in what felt like an eternity, the warmth that I previously craved. "Cheers, everyone," Alex chimed, breaking through my musing. His youthful energy, vibrant as the summer itself, made me feel like a mere spectator in my own life. He raised his glass high, a symbol of ambition and untainted dreams. I watched as he shared a playful gesture with Lisa, their smiles enhancing the jovial atmosphere, yet knotting my stomach. As the evening wore on, the banter flowed freely, underscoring the beauty and warmth that enveloped us all. But each laugh felt like a reminder of my own. Time seemed to warp in its embrace, and shortly, I found myself pulled away by an overpowering urge to feel something real. "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" I called to Sarah, my voice steeling itself against hesitance. She nodded knowingly, her expression shifting to a blend of concern and curiosity. We stepped away from the bustling energy of our friends, seeking refuge in the soft glow of the garden, quite unaware that Alex, in the depths of loading the dishwasher, would be lurking near enough to overhear. I leaned closer to Sarah, allowing the warmth of her presence to envelop me. "I've been feeling a bit lost lately. Things with Lisa." She reached out, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder, a comfort that was both unexpected and deeply soothing. "Jake, you need to find your voice again. Speak up. You can't keep bottling this up." Our eyes connected with a shared understanding, and in that moment, an impulse drove me to pull her into a familiar hug, a gesture underscored by nurturing familiarity and unspoken emotion. It was supposed to feel safe, but as I inhaled the light warmth of her perfume, the creases of worry etched deeper in my heart when I caught a glimpse of Alex staring from the sliding door, intensity in his gaze. Suddenly, the tender moment felt tainted. I pulled away, sensing the tension thicken the air around us, realizing with a jolt that our closeness might have been misconstrued. Unbidden thoughts spiraled within me. Did I betray Lisa, even in the innocence of a hug? The warmth of the evening now felt suffocating as laughter continued to echo around us, blissfully unaware of the crack forming beneath the surface. Alex's brow creased, and I could trace the growing suspicion on his face. It simmered just beneath his affable demeanor, a crackling spark of realization flooding him with uncertainty. When I turned back toward the gathering, an involuntary chill shot up my spine as I met his eyes. Searching, questioning, accusatory. "Everything all right?" he asked, his tone casual, but the tension in that simple phrase sent a wave of trepidation washing over me, like the tumult of an approaching storm. I swallowed hard, caught in the whirlwind of my emotions, half wishing the ground would swallow me whole. I could feel my heart pounding, echoing the conflict that was igniting quietly around us. "Just talking," I replied, forcing a lightness into my voice that felt more like a mask than truth. "You know how it gets sometimes." He crossed his arms, surveying me, with an expression that implied he saw right through me. I could almost hear the gears grinding in his mind. Was I really just talking? The evening flickered on, the laughter continued, but I could feel it, the slightest crack of glass underfoot as tensions quietly escalated, subtly preparing for a collision that neither of us could yet see. The clinking of glasses and gentle banter faded into a distant hum, eclipsed by my heartbeat thrumming in my ears like a warning bell. As I stood there, I knew nothing would remain the same after this night, and yet I was still unwilling to fully acknowledge the choices I had made that had led me here. Friendships fraying, a marriage dulling, and a discord echoing louder with every passing moment. The evening sweltered in the aftermath of Sarah's visit, thick with unspoken words and unresolved tension swirling like the gnats that danced in the golden hue of the setting sun. I paced the small confines of our living room, the comfortable furniture and eclectic decor, feeling increasingly foreign as I wrestled with my own compounding sense of guilt. It had been an innocent moment, nothing more than a friendly embrace with Sarah before she left, yet the haunting look on Alex's face when he caught the two of us together turned it into something twisted. The ambiance of the evening lingered, echoes of laughter still prickling at my conscience, as Alex moved back to the kitchen, his brow furrowed with confusion and something deeper. Disappointment, perhaps. I wanted to explain my clandestine connection with Sarah, to articulate that it had been a shared moment of vulnerability, but the words lodged in my throat, choking on the very hypocrisy I sought to deny. "You're not going to explain that?" Alex finally broke the silence, his voice sharp, cutting through the air like cold glass. He turned, leaning against the counter, arms crossed as he regarded me with a mix of anger and disbelief. I felt my face flush, the familiar heat of defensiveness igniting. "It was nothing. Just a hug, Alex. You're reading too much into it." But even as the words spilled from my mouth, a part of me was aware of their emptiness. "Really?" Because it looked like more than a simple gesture to me. "You've been off lately. I've noticed how distant you are with Lisa. Maybe that hug was just the tip of the iceberg?" His intensity caught me off guard, the way his youthful energy ignited a sense of confrontation I hadn't wanted to face. A part of me seethed. "And what the hell do you know about it? You, with your carefree lifestyle and insatiable wanderlust. You have no idea about the realities of commitment, of building a life together. You have everything to lose and nothing to gain. Either say what you mean or stay out of my business." My tone dripped with contempt, a veil pulled tightly over my insecurities. Alex's expression hardened, eyes narrowing with a fierce determination I hadn't seen before. "That's the point, Jake. I do want to know because watching you sulk here, clinging to regret and resentment while your marriage crumbles, it kills me to see you like this. If you wanted to save your relationship with Lisa, you'd talk to her instead of keeping secrets and pushing her away." His words stung, and it felt as though a spotlight had been shone directly onto my flaws. Hot shame crept up my neck as I imagined Lisa's face if she knew. The nights spent alone in different rooms, the silence that felt like an avalanche building between us. I had to confront it. "Fine, you want honesty?" I took a step forward, fueled by years of pent-up frustration. "I'm stuck. I want to feel alive again, vibrant, full of fire, like you. But I'm buried under responsibilities, under the weight of this mundane life. Sarah, she reminded me of who I used to be. It was just comfort, Did you ever think of that? Comfort? Alex spat, incredulous. Is that all it was to you? What about Lisa? What about your vows? There was a raw edge to his voice, an urgency that felt personal. I could see him wrestling with something deeper, perhaps his own struggles with intention and connection. It was dumb, okay? I can't just flip a switch and erase years of routine, I shot back, feeling the hot surge of anger bubbling within me. Life isn't a rom-com, Alex. You don't just waltz through the door and charge forward without consequences. He stepped closer, standing his ground, and the air crackled with electric energy. You think I don't have consequences? You think it's easy for me to watch you waste away the life you once wanted? Don't you see how incredibly selfish you're being? For a beat, we stood there, eye to eye, measuring the weight of words that curved around resentments unspoken. I clenched my fists, feeling the pulse of frustration pound in my ears. I wanted to counter his words with a shield of bravado, but deep down, they struck a chord of recognition. I was behaving like a man terrified of who he had become, a man simmering at the edges of obscurity, defined only by the complacency that life with Lisa had imposed upon me. If you're so keen on being honest, then why don't you tell me about your implications of freedom? I challenged, a hint of venom dripping my tone. Is it easy for you to stand there and preach about truth when you haven't had to wrestle with your choices like I have? You've stumbled into everything that's blissful while I sacrificed parts of myself to build this life. Alex inhaled sharply, disbelief manifesting into a more sympathetic gaze. I'm not perfect, Jake, but I fight for what I believe in. You knew all along the vulnerabilities of your relationship. You could have chosen to talk to Lisa about how you feel instead of hiding behind Sarah's fleeting embrace. My heart raced as the conflict escalated into an inner tempest, each emotional admission pulling me further into chaos. Suddenly, as I found myself inching closer to him, the distance between us began to dissolve, walls of pretense crumbling under the sheer weight of our confrontation. All of a sudden, a memory surged through me, remnants of a time when my heart was young, unmarred by the burden of betrayal. I could feel his passion seeping through the air, filling the room with a kind of longing for honest connection. In a moment, fueled by desperation, I reached out, gripping his arm, searching for some semblance of clarity as confusion tangled with the flame of our arguments. But the fragile emotional energy began to shift, and before I completely understood it, our hands intertwined, holding on to the intensity that had ignited our clash. The heat grew palpable, drowning out past resentments as I leaned in, embers swirling around us. Breathing in his vulnerability, I suddenly found myself drawing closer. It was reckless, but then so was allowing my heart to drift so far from Lisa. As our lips met, it was electric, the warmth of contact sending sparks of yearning cascading throughout my entire body. It was a moment pulsating with the weight of experience, regret, longing, and the desperate need for connection. The world around us flickered out. All that existed were the tortured emotions laid bare between us. But as quickly as it ignited, it shattered as reality surged back, reminding me of the walls I had erected, of the damage I had wrought. This was not the road I'd set out to navigate, and yet here we were, enmeshed in chaos. Despite the unrelenting pull of that forbidden embrace, the longing for intimacy with Alex beneath the past's shadows wrapped tightly around my heart like a noose. It was time to confront myself. I was not just battling Alex. I was warring against my own reflection, the pieces of who I'd become versus who I aspired to be, a struggle I could no longer ignore. As the evening shadows lengthened across the common areas of our suburban haven, the tension simmered. I could feel it thickening in the air, a suffocating weight that bound my chest. The sound of laughter from the kitchen, the clanging of dishes, and the sweet scent of freshly grilled chicken wafted into the living room, painting an incongruous picture against the chaos budding inside me. I should have felt at ease surrounded by my wife, Lisa, my roommate Alex, and our friend Sarah. Yet their joy only acted as a reminder of the growing fissures in my own life. It happened during what was supposed to be an innocent gathering. I, engrossed in the hurried moment of stacking salad plates, had turned towards Sarah just as she reached for a serving utensil. Our hands brushed momentarily, and I took a quick glance at her, the way her raven hair curled in soft waves around her face, those chocolate eyes glistening with laughter, and a fleeting smile that ignited something fond in me. Before I knew it, our hug lingered longer than it should have. That simple embrace, meant to convey friendship and camaraderie, stirred a different kind of warmth, an awareness of yearning that was repressed but potent. I caught a glimpse of Alex through the kitchen doorway, his brow furrowed as he loaded dishes into the dishwasher. An intensity flashed across his young face, one I recognized all too well, the spark of betrayal. After Sarah had left, the air shifted. Alex confronted me, his vibrant essence now wrapped in a veil of accusation, tinged with hurt. "What the hell was that, Jake?" He gestured vaguely, a mix of frustration and disbelief spilling from him like the overfilled coffee cup on a table. "You had your arms wrapped around her like you were holding onto a lifeline." "Are you kidding me? We're friends, Alex. This is unnecessary." I shot back, my heart racing, pushing back against my guilt like it was a physical force. Yet underneath my defensive bravado, the truth festered. My heart twisted in confusion, and I was shaken. "Friends? Really? Do you think Lisa would agree? Or are you just living in some kind of fantasy land where your actions don't have consequences?" He leaned closer. The animosity in his voice escalated, forcing me to face the bitter irony of my own complacency. I glanced past him, knowing Lisa might hear, hoping she'd walk in and silence this madness. "Come on, man, get real. I'm fine." "It meant nothing," I lied, feeling the words slither out like a desperate plea wrapped in denial. But Alex wasn't buying it. "It meant everything. You're so afraid to look at your own life, Jake. You think clinging to a facade of a perfect marriage will save you?" He tossed his words like stones, each one striking a nerve, each one forcing me to revisit my failures. In that moment, something broke. Fueled by irritation, shame, and that electrifying hint of jealousy, I couldn't contain it any longer. "You think you know me? Who the hell are you to judge? You're the one living under my roof, chasing dreams while I drown in mediocrity. You don't understand the first thing about adult responsibilities or relationships. You're just a kid playing house." I unleashed the frustrations bottled inside, my voice a raw echo of a man grasping at fading glory. "Don't hide behind that excuse, Jake. You're hiding from yourself. Is this what you've become?" He shot back, his voice rising, fierce and unrelenting. "You talk about responsibility, but what about your loyalty to Lisa? You're too busy exploring fantasies with Sarah while she waits for you to own up to your mess." Stung and vulnerable, my fists clenched tight. I could feel my heart pounding. Tears threatened to breach the dam I had built. "You don't have any idea what I'm fighting against. The weight of a failed marriage, the emptiness of dreams unfulfilled. I've lost myself in this mess." As I spoke, I felt a profound shift entwining our confrontation, transforming our argument into something different, raw, aching vulnerability. In the heat of the moment, a crack in my own defenses opened, forcing me to face the man I had become. Just then, I caught a glimpse of the photograph resting on the mantel. Lisa's radiant smile, filled with life and promise before we had become simply two sides of a coin, one side clean and pristine, another dull and tarnished. It was a pivotal reminder of the love long overshadowed by responsibilities and routine. "I missed that connection," I whispered, more to myself than to Alex, my passion unraveling as I confronted my own failure to nourish what mattered. Alex's expression softened slightly, his defenses momentarily lowered. "Then fight for it, Jake. You owe it to her and to yourself to confront this. We're at a crossroads right now. You can either wallow in this despair or take a step forward." The weight of his words hit me hard as silence fell around us, like a breath before the storm. I knew our fight wasn't just about me and Alex. It was a reflection of my battle against the shadows creeping along the walls of my heart. But then, as if sensing the impending storm, Alex stepped forward. Grip tightened around my shoulder, his gaze earnest. There was an unexpected gentleness there, an unspoken understanding that blazed through the tension in the room. "Let's just be real for a moment. You haven't kissed your wife in months. You haven't looked her in the eyes and told her how much she means, have you?" That question, stripped of pretense, hung heavily. A momentary pause stretched between us, questions unasked, but swirling like a tempest. Right then, with an almost careless instinct, I grabbed a bottle of whiskey from the cabinet and poured 2 glasses, the amber liquid catching the light. "Cheers to the mistakes of the past?" I half smirked, though deep inside my spirit sank. But before the bitter burn of the whiskey could ease the awkwardness between us, Alex pinned me with a fiery gaze. "Jake, what are you waiting for? It's time to stop blaming everyone else. Your choices, your failures, they're only yours to own." The words struck hard, vibrating through me like a tolling bell. The foundation beneath my feet shifted, and as if pulled by an unyielding force, I stumbled backward into my memories, swirling visions of intimacy with Lisa, the quiet glances, soft touches, and tender whispers that had once connected us but now felt like fog, gradually dissolving into isolation. "Alex, what if I don't know how to fix it? What if I lose her?" I murmured softly, the fear creeping through my veins. At that moment, the door creaked open and confusion flooded over me. Lisa stepped into the room, but neither of us spoke. The air thickened between the charged electricity of unspoken words, unresolved feelings, and looming shadows. Would I summon the courage to step forward? Would I confess to my failings, to her longing gaze? A cliffhanger dangled before me, the question of whether I would own my heart or let the moment slip away as the familiar specter of my past inched closer, ready to consume me once again. In the small suburban living room, where the hum of the nearby lawnmowers and chirping of birds encapsulated the false sense of tranquility, I felt the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. It was a gathering meant to signify friendship, yet it had evolved into a battleground of emotions. The lines drawn not just between myself and my younger roommate Alex, but ripping through my very soul. The moment I overheard Sarah's teasing laugh, intertwined with my own response, a deep-rooted tension was unleashed. "Jake, can we talk?" Alex's voice sliced through the silence, vibrant with an intensity that set my heart racing in the opposite direction of calm. His youthful face, usually animated and carefree, was now taut with indignation. There was a fire in his gaze as he stood before me, demanding clarity, demanding resolution. "Talk?" I echoed incredulously. "What's there to talk about? You eavesdrop on a harmless moment, and suddenly I'm the villain." "Harmless?" Alex's laugh was strained with disbelief. "You're kidding yourself if you think that was just harmless. That was emotion, Jake. And it's not just between you and Sarah. It's about you and Lisa, about what you want." I felt my defenses rise, emotions boiled to the surface. "What do you know about my life? About my marriage?" In that instant, anger edged out my awareness of what I truly sought. Understanding, resolution. "Enough to know you're on a precipice, man. You're lost somewhere between who you were and who you've become," Alex challenged with fierce determination. "You think having me around has anything to do with your inabilities? I'm not here just to make you feel bad about your choices. I'm here to remind you that the Jake I've read about in your stories was brave, was alive." His words jabbed at my insecurity, a mirror reflecting the very flaws I wished to ignore. My heart thudded painfully in my chest, as if it were reliving every banal moment of my routine life, a life I had surrendered to a comfortable yet deeply unsatisfying existence. "Brave?" I scoffed, the scoff born from a place of profound self-doubt. "Brave doesn't exist in my world anymore. It's buried under the facade of a happy marriage, a job, a home with a picket fence. Do you have any idea what that means?" With the tension pulsing in the air, I stepped back against the wall, helpless. The truth was crashing over me like a relentless wave. The realization that Alex wasn't wrong. He stirred something within, a yearning for my past, its raw energy taunting me. But then I faltered, exposing myself further. I'm just tired, Alex. Tired of all the pretend. Tired of not feeling enough, not brave enough. For a moment, the room was delightfully quiet, the air sizzling, not with anger, but with something deeper, a truth that weighed heavily on both of us. Alex softened, his youthful anger replaced with empathy. Then stop hiding behind your underperformance in life. Why don't you just talk to Lisa? Show your vulnerability. Be the Jake who dares again. I felt my breath catch in my throat. What if she doesn't want to hear it? What if she's done? I don't know, Alex said, breathing heavily as he searched for the right words. But what I do know is you owe her. And more importantly, you owe yourself. Just own it. Don't let moments pass, Jake. Suddenly, the previous atmosphere of discontent shifted. I caught Sarah's gaze across the room. She lingered in the shadows, a specter to our confrontation, yet undeniably present, a visual tapestry of warmth and support. There was a depth in the way she looked at me, as if she understood every thread of turmoil weaving through my mind. And suddenly, there was a magnetic pull, an unspoken connection that transported me back to that moment of intimacy we had shared, just her and I. My pulse quickened with a mix of longing and confusion. I stepped toward her, as if an invisible string tethered our hearts, my fingertips itching to bridge the distance. Sarah, I breathed as the emotions tangled deeper in my chest. What's happening? Jake, she whispered, her voice soft, yet filled with an intensity that threatened to unravel my world. I never meant to come between you and your marriage, but you need to confront what's happening inside you. Before I could wrap my mind around the enormity of her words, the distance between us vanished. I pulled her close as if she were my lifeline, the space between heartbreak and yearning combusting. Our lips met in a sudden clamor of need, an explosion of untamed passion that had been waiting to unleash itself. It began cautiously, a fleeting touch, before deepening into fervent kisses that set our hearts ablaze. The kiss was electric, igniting both regret and longing within me. It was more than desire. It was an embrace of vulnerability, where I tasted the sadness wrapped around my choices. The lingering warmth of her body against mine wrapped me in a cocoon of what had once been so simple, where relationships thrived on honest affection. But just as suddenly, clarity shot through me like a cold breeze cutting through a sweltering summer's day. I pushed back gently, my forehead resting against hers, our breaths mingling in a mixture of warmth and uncertainty. I can't do this. I can't betray Lisa. A shadow crossed her face, but she nodded, her expressive eyes searching mine for understanding. You need to talk to her. This won't help anyone, including yourself. In that moment, a seismic shift rattled me. I could not continue to bury these emotions beneath layers of guilt and denial. I needed to confront my reality. I needed to face Lisa, not just for her, but for my sake as well. Thank you, I whispered, pulling away, a weight of guilt still heavy on my heart, but with a dawning sense of purpose far stronger. The confrontation with Alex had unearthed not just the turmoil, but also the realization that I must embrace the pain, accept the burden of honesty, and pursue whatever was left of the love I shared with Lisa. I turned to Alex, now a silent witness to this pivotal moment of clarity. I need to go talk to Lisa. My voice was steady, no longer wavering with uncertainty. Then go, he urged, breaking into a supportive smile, warmth flooding back into his eyes. Be brave, Jake. Fight for your life. With renewed determination coursing through my veins, I headed toward the door, my heart pounding not just with fear, but with hope for what could lie ahead. As I sat across from Lisa at the kitchen table, our once vibrant home felt muted, the silence pregnant with unspoken words. The familiar morning light streamed through the window, casting soft shadows that spoke of our fractured intimacy. I could see the questions swirling in her eyes, magnified by the uncertainty that had seeped into our lives. Today was not about blaming the ghosts of the past, but about confronting the reality that lay bare between us. "Jake," she began, her voice quivering like the morning dew trembling on the edge of a leaf. "What happened between you and Sarah?" Taking a breath, I delved into my account, the words tumbling out before I could second-guess myself. "I don't know, Lisa. It just happened." In that moment, with Sarah, something woke within me, a longing for the connection we seemed to have lost. Her eyes softened, and I could almost trace the paths of her tears, glistening like crystal droplets on the surface of a still lake. "But Jake, that's not enough reason to betray what we built together." "No, it isn't," I admitted, my heart pounding, each thump reverberating through my chest, echoing the depth of my regret. I let myself drift. I was seeking something outside that I needed to find inside our marriage. I'm sorry for creating that moment, for coupling it with betrayal. To my surprise, the tension in the room began to shift, giving way to understanding. "I've also been distant," she confessed, her voice a soft tremor. "Life got busy, and in the chaos, we lost each other." We spent the next hour sharing our truths, peeling back the layers of misunderstanding that had accumulated over the years. The conversation flowed freely, liberated from the weight that lingered between us. Each confession brought clarity, breaking through the thick fog of resentment and loneliness that had suffocated us for far too long. But it wasn't only about regaining what we had lost. It was also about relearning how to connect. I reached out and took her hand, feeling the warmth seep from her palm into my own. In that simple gesture, a promise was forged, a commitment to rebuild from the ashes of our past. "Let's start again," I said softly, brimming with hope. "Can we find our way back to each other?" Lisa squeezed my hand, her eyes shimmering with renewed intensity. "I want that, Jake. I want to fight for us. We've got so much to relearn, but we're not alone in this." In those sacred moments, a plan began to form, not just as individuals, but as partners, sharing dreams and vulnerabilities, embracing once more the passion we had let slip away. I promised to be more open, more attentive, to shield our hearts from life's distractions, fostering an environment steeped in honesty and empathy. We spent the following weeks not as two fragmented beings, but as a couple learning to dance again, playing silly games reminiscent of our early days, and checking in continuously on each other's feelings. I felt the weight lift, and in this renewal, I found the courage to apologize to Alex for not recognizing the gift of his friendship and for pushing him too hard in discussions that dug too deep into our issues. Apology was a two-way street, and as we sat together, I witnessed the bright spark of respect and understanding emerge anew. "Jake," he said, the corner of his mouth lifting into a fleeting smile. "I've seen you grow. It's inspiring. Don't lose sight of this." With that affirmation, a sense of finality washed over me. The once rumbling storms inside my heart receded, replaced with clarity and resilience. I understood that rather than be overwhelmed by our internal Goliaths, we could face them together, finding strength not just in love, but in trust, in vulnerability, and amidst the messiness of life. The journey had humbled me, and it was an awakening, ripe with lessons of empathy and growth, guiding us all forward. As I leaned in to kiss Lisa, it was no longer yearning or desperation. It was a testament to all we'd experienced together, for better or worse. And within that kiss lay the essence of a promise renewed, to rise again, full of love and understanding,